for turning up. It's been a pretty massive journey to get this event up and running. Just want to do a few thanks. Thanks to the Dell guys for helping us out. It's been absolutely fantastic, and also the Compass guys for supporting us, and also Mike from Dataflex also. To get this conference put together, it's been probably 12 weeks of hard work, many emails, many discussions, many meetings, but it's all about the kids. That's what we're talking about, and the students. That's what it's all about. That's why we've got the conference today. Before we start, well, Cameron's getting me all hooked up. Dell Financial Services have kindly enough given me some beautiful Targus bags to give away today during the day, and we've done some random numbers from your visitor tags. The first two people is Matt Davidson and Gary Dennis, who have won some Targus bags. Give me a second. If they're here right now, they can come and pick up their bags. Just a bit of a thank you for coming up. There's a few more giveaways to go through the day. You're most welcome. Okay, as I said before, I'm Matt, the IT manager of the school, and we've got Cameron Nicholls, our curriculum and reporting manager.
What I'd like to talk to you about, I guess, is we will focus on our journey. I think particularly Matthew and myself and a number of staff here at the college really bought into the benefits, and we could see all the benefits that students could get from ICT. I suppose, look, the fact is that we're digital natives in a sense. We enjoy using the technology, and I guess one of the hurdles that sometimes presents is, I think IT people particularly are quite happy to have bugs. So you'll go with something because it's just new and, oh, this will be good, this will work, it's got some great benefits, and I can deal with that little glitch or that little problem along the way. I've come to find over our journey that's probably not normal behaviour, and most people would like things to work properly all the time, particularly when it comes to making sure the students have the best experience in the classroom. So in order to actually get people on board, one of the things we went back to is that whole thing about, okay, what do we want students to get out of this? If there's money around, particularly federal funding, to go and get some devices to see the program, we don't want it to just be on the ground and disappear. So what are we going to go long term? So we went back and looked at some of the initiatives that are in place generally about student learning, and we'll start to talk in a moment about focusing on feedback, particularly when we kicked all that off. In order to support our program, we ended up engaging a number of partners, and some of those will be presenting for you this afternoon. Some of the partners are partners of this school and part of our solution. And some of the partners, or some of the people that will present to you today in some of the sessions later on, are part of other people's solution. We've certainly, Matthew and I, are not going to stand here and say, this is what you should do and this is the way you go about it, because it works for our context. It works for our community, it works for our students, and it works for the type of teaching and learning program that we initially had and that we're developing as we go. You can't just carbon copy this stuff. In fact, we got some really interesting phone calls after we began to roll out our one-to-one part of our initiative, particularly with our Year 7s and 10s. We get phone calls from other schools and particularly from other IT managers saying, we're going to hand out laptops in a couple of days. What are you guys doing? Can you send us all your documentation around policy, etc.? I said, no, because we don't want to do that to you. If we do that, we're going to put you in a god-awful mess. You need to take away the elements that you think work in the context of your school, and you really do need to develop a long-term strategy. And where we'll begin, when the first round of funding came along, is we actually sat back and did nothing. One-to-one program, if you want to drive, because you know what we're up to.
Just before we begin, if you have any questions, please, I want this to be interactive, this session here, so if you have any questions or any great ideas, just shoot them out.
Yeah, we understand this is obviously, in terms of teaching practice, this sort of we talk here and you all sit there is not the best way to go about business. It's not what our classrooms intend to be, but this, of course, the rest of the schools are normal day today, so this is where we are. We sat back and watched, and we watched a lot of you in some respects from our region to see what was going on and what was happening. And let's face it, one-to-one programs aren't new. There are schools been doing this for 25 years. And even when that first round of funding came back, yeah, we got some devices and they went into classrooms. But in terms of what happened, basically, we put some extra browsers in classrooms.
Bring your own browser.
Yeah, bring your own browser. The school-provided browser.
Yeah, school-provided
and
browser.
in terms of what happened in terms of teaching and learning, Nothing. It was same old, day in, day out. There's just some extra devices. So looking at those ratios, because I guess where our heads were initially first was how do we get the ratios up? Now, for those of us that don't, those of you that don't know us, just a bit of a perspective of where we are. We're the largest single campus secondary school in Gippsland. We've got about 1,100 students on site. It's an area, particularly with changes to the power industry through the 90s, that's had been in some interesting economic circumstances, and it probably rates about the 30th percentile relative to all other Victorian schools at the moment. We have very low parent contribution rates, and those fees are about $200, but I sort of ran some figures yesterday.
Current snapshot of
That's the current snapshot of yesterday. It's not pretty, we've got some challenges there.
8 months in.
But that being said, we are receiving payments through our co-contribution program. So I guess it's all about that community engagement and how you get the buy-in that says this is important. And so that's one of our challenges. And when we went and looked at other schools, what other schools were doing, many schools said to us, oh, you know, the parents pay for the device, and we really thought from about 2009, we're not sure ours will. We're not sure they really value it yet, and so a whole lot of education has to happen there with our community about why we think this is important, because the teachers bought it, but our community generally didn't. And look, it's interesting when you look at the nature of the work, I suppose, in this area too. People do get by day to day without a computer. If our computers go down, if our staff computers go down, you have staff sitting there saying, I can't work today, I can't teach. That's not necessarily representative of the way our other people in our community work. So there are some challenges about how we understand that there. We know, as we handed these out, and we had parent information evenings, it became very apparent the computer we handed out to students was the only computer in the home for a number of our students. It was certainly the best computer they had. So some students would come in, or some parents would come in and say, oh yeah, we have a computer, but there'd be no internet access. We've got a large percentage of students that travel in on buses and coming from outlying rural areas, and there's limited connectivity out there. There isn't the infrastructure in those areas. So you can't do things like say, let's put everything in the cloud, because for our school, that doesn't work, because students just don't have access to that stuff. They need to physically put on the device and take it home. Any communication is to physically go on the device and take it home. But as we started to look at these challenges, we started to say, okay, there's some real benefits of having that device. If we could get the device one-to-one, that actually becomes a communication tool. This is what we think we've achieved. And we're quite proud of our achievements given those circumstances. We've got 100% uptake of Year 7s and Year 10s, and that's where we started our co-contribution program. Our other year levels have devices that are essentially the gifts through the federal funding. And they've taken those devices and they have responsibility for them, but they're not contributing. The 7s and 10s, their parents contribute to the devices. Now, of course, that 100% participation rate does include some, I suppose, support services and things that are involved in there, and some sponsorships. But that's part of our model to get it there.
We all managed to get, we've got a lot of staff that have actually sponsored kids from Year 7 and 10, putting money towards their yearly payments and stuff like that. And also, some local business have chipped in some money as well.
And some parents making extra contributions.
And actual parents make, for their friends of their kids, they just give them a fair chance. The whole program, from its core, is it has to be equal. Equality has to be everywhere. We want to make sure that no one misses out. And one of our biggest challenges we'll go into later is how do you get more money in. Okay, we'll talk about that later. But it's been our biggest thing is we want to get every kid to have a chance, and that's what we've actually done.
And we didn't want to go cheap.
No.
I mean, you can buy some super cheap devices these days, but we thought it got into those two things. One, it was giving the students something that really wasn't going to be any real benefit for them. And in terms of teachers designing programs, we wanted teachers to be able to take the initiative and say, I want to do this with my device, and that Matt could turn around with his team and say, yes, your device can do that. We were toing and froing between all sorts of devices we can talk about in a minute about what to do, and in the end the device we chose was one that we thought was the most flexible, that staff would say, I want to go with this, I want to give this a try, and the device would allow them to do it. In order to get a quality device, it needed to be cheap and affordable as well. The price point, and just to give you a bit of a figure about what we're talking about, our students contribute $150 a year for their device. And they do that over 3 years, and then it's theirs to own. But we will, if they're Year 7, we will ask them to get another device in Year 10. So it's 2 devices over there like a secondary school.
We want to keep it industry standard all the time, and know, 3 years is almost too long, but 3 years is a good sign to roll equipment over.
And we weren't prepared to have advice that was unsupported. We wanted advice that if it came out of the classroom for whatever reason, it was dropped. Our very first breakage was within hours of it being handed out. The boy came off his skateboard, used it as a bit of a landing pad. We wanted this to go in the shop, be swapped over. In most cases, our devices are swapped over the next day.
Yeah, one of the big key winners of the parent evenings that we did have was they said, "Oh, what happens if my son or daughter's laptop breaks and they drop it or whatever?" Basically, we've got Dell next business day. Yes, we are regional. Parts do come in next day, and we have a technician on site. Pretty much, she got her own desk here. She comes in every day and repairs laptops. Granted, of course, parts issue, but pretty much we solved that problem. The package we got was 3 years full warranty, 3 years accidental damage and insurance. That's what those want to talk to the Dell Financial Services guys and the Dell guys. They can certainly help you out about how to create something there.
And it was all about this. Whatever device we get, we had a clear understanding about what we wanted to achieve, and that was around how we can improve communication, particularly across our region. Want to go to the next one?
Sure.
I was glad to see Peter had a circle, because we had a circle with 5 things on it as well, and the 5 things nearly aligned, which is nice. Yeah. That's good.
This was about 3 days ago, mind dumping with Cameron Saturday afternoon with lots of espressos, trying to work out what we're going to do for today. And we basically sat down there, and they're basically the 5 elements.
When the funding was first announced, and actually it was really the second round of funding, wasn't it? Because the first round, we just bought extra devices, extra laptops, we put them in trolleys, they went into classrooms, and nothing really changed.
Yep.
When we really decided that we really wanted to push this communication idea, we said, well, we first of all have to engage our community, because there was no point setting devices. As we watched other schools write one-to-one, some of the things that concerned us, and we were hearing feedback from other schools, was you'd put them out there, and the community said, oh, I don't really necessarily need that, or students would say, I'm not sure why I really want that. I'm not using it in class, the teachers don't use it, I'm only using it in a particular subject. So we had to get the buy-in. We said, what about the device? And we've already talked about why we thought the device was important. Of course, good devices need to be supported by infrastructure, so that was a big agenda item that we need to deal with the infrastructure straight off. And then the whole teaching and learning purpose behind what outcome the student's going to get. And then, of course, Matt's role here as IT support is managing all those things and actually giving some information about managing, because we've got lots of good data now. And so Matt would look at that and say, okay, do we need to look at what's happening with our community more? Is there problems with the type of device we've got, given the nature of the task teachers want to do? Do we have infrastructure problems and bottlenecks in our system?
I'm just going to wave the IT flag for those techies out there. A lot of schools don't realise how much we actually do behind the scenes. And that's why I've put us as the big red dot in the middle, because the problem not red there, because we look after everybody. I'm talking everybody, cousins, aunties and uncles of teachers, whatever. It's what we do here, and that's why I thought that is very important to me, because that's our sort of our holistic view about how we do things in IT here at Lowanna, and my guys will know exactly the same thing. The buck stops with us, with everything IT, regardless, or plugged into PowerPoint actually, that's another story.
I think what Matt's done is changed our IT delivery model a little bit.
Absolutely.
I think, prior to Matthew coming to us, and I know other schools that operate like this, and this might sort of ring some bells for you, but there are a lot of IT departments or a lot of schools where IT is, you use it with the permission of the support staff. And there are things you're allowed to do, and they're essentially, for the students, they're seen as the police. And they're there to make sure that they don't do this and they don't do that, and to keep the hackers out. And it's always a bit of a game. It's a game between the techs and the students.
Yep.
It's very interesting as we've rolled out the one-to-one. I think the boys in the office will tell you there's been a real change in the relationship between students and our IT support staff.
We have manners for a start. Come in, please and thank you. Thank Hayden was very particular on manners, and I say if my 2-year-old daughter can say please and thank you, I expect a Year 8 person to do the same thing. And basically it changed when we were in a little closet of an office, no windows and all that type of stuff. But we moved to a bigger office. You can come and have a look later on. All of a sudden it looked like an actual real office. There was a reception desk, and all of a sudden the students think, geez, these guys are actually important to us. And also the staff would come up to the desk instead of walking around to seeing us. You know, it was really, that's what changed, going to that next office, but also bringing more devices. People actually understood that, hey, we're actually looking after X amount of 100 devices.
And it became more service orientated. Hey Matt, I'd like to do this in my class, and they would find a solution rather than, no, you can't do that, you can do that.
Yeah, pretty much. And with that solution Cam just touched on, the service model that we run with the software is sort of self-service. A lot of the staff can come to us and say, hey, I need X program onto my kids' laptops if they've got it. Okay, just jump into our Dell case management system, support service, bang, they click on it and it installs it on the fly. So that's the top model we're going for here at Lowanna, and it actually, this year especially, has worked 100% fantastic. So, yeah, thanks.
Just one question.
Sure.
I understand all of that slide from my perspective.
Yes.
Community engagement. What are the key points of the community engagement fitting into one-on-one?
That's where it actually got the legs. And when we talk about our relationship, particularly with Compass, in a moment, that was actually the thing that gave us the leverage that made sure it was important that every student have a device to participate in all of school life. What we went out looking for is a communication system. And for us, Compass was that communication system, which provides a lot of services, which we'll talk about in a moment, and we'll unpack those because we rolled them in gradually, but we basically started to step up our online communication and be in that online space. Curriculum online, learning tasks online, assignment submissions online, newsletters online, online assessment reporting, etc. So that was the buy-in. If you wanted to have the full experience of all that school life, then you actually needed one of these devices to take home. And we've actually got really good measurable data now about the effect that that's had on communication across the school.
But having the parents club, the school council, the student council, kids, everyone involved, makes our job. We're presented to school council a lot on this program last year. They were all hesitant about the money and all that, but everyone's involved and everyone talks, being a small town like you guys are from a lot of small towns, and it's actually working. There's actually a lot of buzz, as I say, there's businesses, local businesses out there now sponsoring us for these kids.
Can I ask about the money, Matt?
Sure.
The kids are paying $150 per device per year.
Yes.
How much is the school putting per device per year?
What we've done is we've offset it, and we might actually, do you want me to go to the next slide? We'll show our rollout, and I'll answer it in terms of the rollout here. Don't worry about reading the writing so much on those coloured bars, but I'll just give you an illustration about, I'll explain to you what we're trying to illustrate here. In 2009, when we started with around 2.1 funding, we bought these trolleys and we put them into schools, and they were just shared access.
Federal funded laptops.
The federal funded laptops, just shared access in classrooms. So staff were getting familiar with using the devices, but that's about it. Essentially, they were just browsing. If you looked at our traffic, our internet traffic, all our data was just browsing data. We had very high restrictions on what they could see and can't see. Certainly things like YouTube were off limits. You can't go there. That's unsafe. It was all locked out. And it was fairly tight on what students could do with those devices. So word process and browse. When the round 5 funding came out, we said, I'm not going, from my perspective from teaching and learning manager, I wasn't prepared to go to staff and say, you need to change your practice to using these devices. And they saw the benefits, and that's fine, but they needed to be sustainable. There's no point doing it for 3 years and then the devices go away, we can no longer support them, they're out of the picture, and we go back to doing what we were doing. Because you know what teachers will do, they'll just say, well, I'm not going to change. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing now, because if it's going to hit the wall anyway, well, what's the point? And look, we do see lots of initiatives come and go, and they tend to be a bit transient. We didn't want it to be like that because we really did believe in the benefits of it. We had labs around the school, in terms of answering the finance question. We had labs around the school. We had a rolling fund that looked after the provision of those, basically desktop computers and some laptop computers. And they were scattered in 2 main labs of about 30
each.
machines
Around the
each.
school, yeah.
How many others, mate?
Probably 2, 4, 6, probably 7, 8 labs, 4 computers, about 2009.
So what was our ratio of devices to students there?
Probably, 1,100 kids with about 200 computers. Yeah, a lot.
All right. That funding is the funding that we are now using to co-contribute.
I suppose I'm interested in, though, is a figure per student, because I'm not multiply that.
It's
by
50%. It's 50%.
So it's $150.
The school contributes 50%.
Yeah. So
All right.
$150,000
Per year over 3 years.
Per year.
Yep. That's our contribution. So it's 50, and that's how we advertise it. We'll pay half, and we pay that out of our IT budget. Okay, it's a school of 1,100. It's a significant amount of money. We were lucky when we were established on this site, because this school is an amalgamated site from 3 secondary colleges that have closed. When that was set up to provide IT at that time, that rolling fund was put in place. So that money was already there, right? We're now contributing that to our co-contribution program, but the ratios are 1-to-1. So in terms of the same money, you think about the buying power of the same money for those devices.
And that's for also those questions too, Liz is from Dell Finance. If you want to talk to her from her session coming up, she'll be able to help you out with those questions as well, because she's the one who helped us out with ours, trying to find the best cost plan for the school and also for the parents.
So you see, that's that green bit. So we started with these down this bottom end, shared laptop accesses, then we refunneled that money into the co-contribution for year 7 and 10, and then we're rolling it on every year. We put on 7s and 10s each year. Because we made that decision, particularly around the insurance and support arrangements. We weren't prepared to have devices on the ground that weren't supported, that couldn't be swapped over. So we made sure that you got one in year 7, it expired at the end of year 9, you got another one in year 10 that took you through to the end of the year. That also allowed us to be, hopefully, progressive with our teaching and learning, because we've got new devices all the time with some new capabilities.
And with the costing, how we've done it is, we've got a lease arrangement for the year 7 and 10 program, a lease arrangement for the 400 laptops, where we pay per month over 3 years. And obviously we pay X per year this year, next year we're paying twice what we're paying, the year after 3 times what we're paying. And then with all the community engagement, the business and the sponsorship and support, we should be able to leverage that. And of course our rolling fund will have to grow due to with what we're doing here. We're quite confident about that's going to happen. Yes?
Just a query, we're a one-to-one school to 1,300 kids. Similar configuration with contribution. The issues we find is parent payment over 3 years and the value they place on the actual netbook we use. Because it's a crappy device, it's not worth the 300 we pay over 3 years. How did you actually get kids on board with the device? Because to me that's the critical point, because if the kids value the device, the parents will value it and pay the contribution.
Well, that's a great question actually. We actually did a lot of research with our new office from the round 5 funding when that came in sort of start of 2012. We got a new bigger office and the kids started getting interested in what we're doing. We started showing them these items and laptops as they were coming in on display. The teachers would show them as well. And we'd say, we want to give you an industry standard device. And so we chose an i3 with 4 gig of RAM and a certain hard drive. And all those worked out for our staff because their software they were using at that time, this year, would actually work. And then the students could actually, yes, they could play their Grand Theft Auto 4 or whatever on their games and they could do whatever. The other buy-in was we would give them access to their D drive to put on their movies, their music and all that type of jazz. They couldn't install any programs. This is another debate for us tech guys, give them full admin rights or not give them full admin rights. But anything they need to do with Telstra USB keys or printers at home, we give them access to those certain things. A little bit more work for us, but we've found that's the best thing. We've got parents coming in, we're helping them, showing them how to use their son and daughter's computer and what they need to use it. So that was our buy-in, I think.
We looked at lots of devices.
Heaps.
Every week over that, we're about to make our decision now. We're in that position we need to make the decision now for next year, because we spend the end of the year with our teaching and learning teams saying, this is the device, what new capabilities have we got here, what are the new options for teaching and learning based on the device. So we need to have that discussion with staff around professional development in the latter half of this year about next year's device. But how many times did we run into the principal's office at times saying, we've changed our mind, we're getting iPads. We've changed our mind, we're getting tablets. We've changed our mind, we're getting some sort of hybrid device.
Yeah,
One of the things we're trying to buy in is go to equals.
Yep.
Our aim is to go to equals to year 7. So we figure we could save parents, $250 in terms of the cost. But then they have to do a co-contribution, so nearly the full amount of the laptop. So for the price of the textbooks, we're giving them a laptop with e-books. But the issue, and this is where I have discussions with George and Billy, but one of the things we find is, the issues with English, for example, is that, kids when they read, they need the text to get some contextual understanding. When kids, comprehend information, they take information from pictures and all those sorts of things and they put it together. If you go with a tablet, you can only see so much. So it sort of undermines comprehension. So if you go to a big screen, you get e-books on a full screen. It means comprehension is better for kids.
So you've got a better argument with the curriculum heads, because you're saying to them, well, it's going to be just as good as a textbook because the kids are going to understand it. So that's the debate we're having at the moment. So George and I are talking about, George is going with this, what is it, George? Tablet, thank you. But I'm suggesting we go with a wider screen.
We had exactly that debate, and one of the first things that we handed out, what was the scale of the Year 10 laptop we handed out for the first round? It was like a 10-inch, the black Dell.
The Aces.
The black Dell, Aces. It was a much smaller format. We had actually some students come in and say, look, my eyesight's so bad I can't read the screen. And at that point we said, okay, we need, our students wanted a bigger screen format because they're experienced, the smaller ones. Our English department particularly, thinking of the books, they wanted a bigger screen. Yes. Graphic arts. The other thing I guess that I'll mention about ebooks, and we did explore ebooks. You've seen our contribution rates. Those parents aren't buying textbooks. Yeah. So we're a school of class sets. So I don't have much experience in that. So perhaps people that are using ebooks, I know Rob, you've just started that journey. So Rob Dradovich from Lowanna Regional College will be someone to talk to. That's a new space for us. Lowanna's decision was parents aren't buying those textbooks. We're using class sets. Certainly I've got like 25 sets of whatever book in the Year 7 centre. We've got 200 Year 7s sharing those 25 books. We're not going to go out and ask parents to contribute a per head licensing arrangement for ebooks. And we had some quite lengthy discussions with publishers about that. I think even publishers are struggling in that space about how to provision e-textbooks at the moment. So we don't have experience in that area around the books. And that was part of the buy-in, I guess, because we're not asking parents to contribute a whole lot of money for other stuff. Essentially, this is it. This is the ticket. You get the laptop, and we'll try and put as much as we can into that online space for you, into the campus space.
Absolutely. Good question. Thanks for that.
Can someone just talk about the argument, no doubt you would have had, in relation to laptops versus iPads?
Yes.
Sure.
Management. I said to Matt, tell me how you're going to manage the iPads.
Okay.
And he said, at the time, we're talking 2009-10, I know there's some solutions now, I can't do it.
I can't send out 300 copies of Open Office or whatever they call it, MS Office to Open Office to your iPad. We're going to give everyone a $100 iTunes card. Make sure you buy these apps I tell you to buy. Don't buy Angry Birds and whatever else you buy.
And look, we know with changes around policy around EMA, etc. We know there's a $800 school start bonus, which you can buy a number of our laptops for, but that doesn't happen either. No. So we didn't think handing out iTunes cards was going to be a great idea.
So we looked at the management, got a number of people involved, we looked at it, and then discussions with our local SDM and also the department saying, look, federal funding's not really for the iPads, the actual learning devices has to be a type of laptop to use the EduStar readers, blah, 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 blah. And
we were actually told it could be a secondary device.
Yeah. At
the time we were told we could only buy iPads if they had something else to go with it. And we found out we have iPads and we have some staff here with them, but they're secondary devices. They still need the laptop to plug in. As I said, for our community, this is essentially the family computer we were sitting home. So we weren't in that iPad space.
Yeah. So it took us, I think it was probably 6 months of to and fro from a tablet to a laptop to a tablet to a laptop to one that you write on, one thing spins around, and we got them all in, and we basically came up with the Latitude, the actual standard laptop with a long battery life. That's basically.
And we wanted the standard operating environment. Staff were beginning to come on board with some of the stuff out of the EduStar image and some programs and things, and they wanted to be standardised. Yeah. So we wanted to, our buy-in was this $150. It's a little bit less than that, by the way. But this money basically provides you with all your service, your device, and all your software. It's a package it's a student learning package.
And support, like basically students come to us for everything, it stops with us. Everything stops with IT, like I said before. So they know that's also the buy-in, that's the guarantee. It comes to us, it will get sorted out, whatever it takes. That's that sort of buy-in we had from the parents. Yes, Amy?
I think it's also important to consider what kind of teaching and learning environment you want for kids and what kinds of skills you want them to leave with. And iPads, whilst they're very engaging, so iPads can be very engaging, and they've got a lot of advantages, like you can turn them on and the textbook can come up straight away, you don't have that login time. But what kind of skills are kids leaving with if they're just using iPads? Do they have the necessary curation skills, the necessary documentation skills to collect and curate their information? And personally, I don't think that the iPad provides enough of that context for kids to use the things that they're going to use out in the workforce.
And it was even talking about those skills. When we first hit the ground with the laptops, we were thinking, you know, and we actually use this to sell it to people, sell it to staff. You'd say, oh, you know, the digital native generation, and they'll be fine. They've got no idea.
Yeah.
We were teaching how to turn it on. We were teaching, if you flip the wireless button, you're going to have no wireless.
Yeah. Proxy server on and off.
Alt tab, basic computer literacies they had absolutely no idea about. And we'd gone for a period of years actually where we thought, you know, IT teaching should be embedded in classrooms, that it was all happening there, but the trouble is the only people with the devices were teachers. And when we looked at the skills of students at the start of our program compared to teachers, teachers were gurus and power users. And the kids just really, word processing was a struggle, changing the fonts was a struggle for many of our students. So that's why we also decided, after trialling with this originally essentially free for the kids, these federally funded laptops, we said if they're going to co-contribute, we need to actually have a device that's got some skill generation in there as well. So we thought the laptop was a better way to go.
Sitting here with my iPad.
Yeah.
And we do, but I bet you've got the PC at home or at work. Yeah, and that's the decision we found, that those were secondary devices rather than primary devices. And if you wanted to go beyond browsing,
just mindful of time, I've got a few more slides to get through. Just really quickly, I'm going to touch on this really quickly. Cameron and I went to a conference 2 years ago in Melbourne, done by Bruce Dixon from Ideas Lab. If you guys haven't ever heard of him speak, phenomenal. He's been around 100 years, travelled the world, seen he's developed one-to-one programs all over the world, and it's Aussie, hell of a nice fellow. He came to us and said, talking about repair damage for us IT guys, and also the bursars out there and the principals. People don't realise that year 1, 20% of the damage is used at school. Year 2,
20% of the devices will be returned to the office for service in the first year of their life.
then it goes to 60%, and then it goes to 120% in the third year. That's actually sort of ringing quite true.
Now that we job log and we manage we've got a quick tracking of the repairs and the jobs we're doing, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
So we run a one-to-one as well at Alton High School. We track our jobs. We've got 905 machines. We just did 905 repairs in 18 months this week.
Right.
In theory, every machine can be repaired once.
Yeah.
Yeah, well there you go. Yeah. We find that when schools we speak to, that holds true. We first heard this prior to rolling out our one-to-one program, and we're mindful of it, and that particularly influenced our decisions around warranty and support. Because the fact of the matter is, every device is going to require a warranty call, some of them twice. Some of them, in fact, I mean, it's the nature of any of these devices, isn't it? You'll get a batch that are fine, and then you get the one machine that seems to be continually in your office all the time with multiple repairs, probably making up most of that 120%.
Okay.
Can I just ask one question on that? While we're playing with you guys. I'm amazed at those figures, but then I'm not in schools. Is there a way of reducing that by, I don't know, being more disciplined to kids, or putting rubber all around them?
If we can just get that microphone back up to the back there.
How many of those repairs are actual warranty repairs? How many of those are actually insurance or repairs?
Yeah, well, we didn't really get into that, but...
Because it's different.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And how many are software jobs and how many are hardware jobs. We'll have to crunch the numbers, but we certainly have those numbers, so maybe later today we can have a bit of a look.
Yeah.
Look, the majority of your work's probably software related.
Yep, absolutely. But every day, without fail, we have a breakage of some description, which is generally standing on it when they're getting out of bed, which is a classic one, or they carry it with holding the screen, or they just drop it on the concrete.
Some things we noticed straight away. The first laptops we got some very nice Targus hard case shell or clamshell cases. I don't know, they were sleeve, weren't they? They were like I call it a man bag. You know, just the
stand on it.
yeah, all hard shell. Students didn't like them. Oh, they're dorky, they're geeky. I'm not carrying that around. So they'll have their pencil case and they'll just have their laptop with their pencil case. And of course, they drop. because kids busting. We've got a 4-period day, so that means about 8 times students are coming and going places with their laptops. They go in the yard and use them there, so we'll talk about that in a moment. But these are the things we discovered along the way about just how they were using the devices and how rigorous the activity was for that device sitting under their arm. They'll carry it by the screen. You carry it around like this and you walk across the yard with the whole keyboard flopping away at the bottom. They get some rough treatment. They get some very rough treatment.
Yep, go, sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Let's say a child is damaged their notebook. Do they have a $50 excess fee?
Okay, what we've done with the new program that we launched this year, no. Okay? What we purchased from Dell with regards to the hardware and the servicing with the warranty and the accidental damage, it's all bundled in that $150 per year that they're paying. So I don't really care if you pour water on it, stand on it, kick it, car run over it, which we haven't had a car run over one. Doesn't really matter. We just have to take photos and Dell will magically sort it out. No.
Providing it's accidental.
Yeah, it's accidental. Providing that, yeah. If there's a screwdriver through it, well, that's a different story, which we've had scissors, not a screwdriver.
And we had someone that decided they'd sort of had enough of education at Lowanna. Parting gift was to drive their fist right into the keyboard. That student returned to us a couple of weeks later when he decided this was the place to be, so we just handed the laptop back. So there you go, that's yours. Explain that to Mum. Stolen devices need police reports, obviously.
Yeah, that's also stolen at school. It'll be the same.
Still need a police report.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Then Dell will deal with it all. Yes. Yes.
Buses. 30% of our students coming on by bus, so yeah, we're in regular contact with the Latrobe Valley bus lines about laptops.
What about deadline end user? So like for the students, they leave.
Take it and walk. Just take the device and walk home.
Same. It's all covered. But once again, it'll be a police report. Once again, that's all the Dell, for us, that's all the Dell accidental damage insurance does.
Keep in mind, these devices, let's be clear why they're being leased by students. They're our property. The leasing arrangement that we put in place for our solution is between us and Dell Financial Services. It's our device that we're being reimbursed for. So at the end of the day, yeah, if it walked, we would either have to fill in that report or and seek to get that rectified. If we didn't, we'd be paying for the device. Peter.
Just quickly, Cameron, I'm interested in terms of students' care of their device. As it's become more crucial to their day-to-day learning and embedded by each teacher in their teaching, have you noticed a difference in students' care and attitude towards the device?
Thank you. I like these questions because we've got 5 years I'm trying to think through as I go here, and yeah, that's a good point. Yes, we'll talk about the Year 10 laptops first. The damage rates for the Year 10 ones, which they didn't contribute to, are far higher than the damage rates to the co-contribution laptops. It's very interesting also the ones that are in the trolleys. I think the Year 10 damage is high, or we think the Year 10 damage is high. Particularly our Year 8s, Year 7s have their co-contribution device. Our 8s and 9s are the year levels that still have trolleys, and they're using like the cow that goes off to class. The rates of damage in those trolleys are, we consider, very high.
Yeah.
It's the key picking off of things. We don't see that in the co-contribution laptops at all. It doesn't happen. If you get an opportunity to walk over, I'm sure Matt maybe at the last 10 minutes of lunch would be willing to take some people over to our IT centre. There's a big bench down the middle. We service about 40, about 38 laptops at a time.
If we need to.
That bench, you'll see, there's not very many laptops on it. They move them through quite quickly. But you really won't see any of the black and silver Dell machines that are co-contribution ones. But you will see piles of the black, older Year 8 ones.
Two shelves.
Yes, you're exactly right, Peter. As kids rely on them in class, they're becoming more important and they're being looked after. And look, they're good devices, so students actually appreciate having them. Some of the others that are a little bit cheaper, it's just, I can use my phone's quicker. That's the sort of attitude they would say. So having a good device, I think, has helped that. Being critical in every class has helped that. When we first rolled out the Year 10 laptops, And I said not much teaching practice really changed. It was just access to some other browsers. We had a really interesting moment at the start of this year when we rolled out the 7s and 10s. We didn't do it for 2 weeks. We were particularly worried about, I guess school leadership was particularly worried about where we're going to start seeing parent contributions, because we still haven't got a lot at the start of the year. And maybe we need to do some work on communications about the program initially, a bit more than we did last year. We contacted a lot of parents and said, this is going to be happening, your laptop will be rolled out in the next 2 weeks. Trouble was, over that holiday period, once we'd announced the 7 and 10 laptop rollout, teachers had gone home and prepared copious amounts of material ready for delivery on laptops. They had really transformed their whole delivery mechanisms over that summer holiday break. And so when they came back week 1, suddenly all our laptop trolleys are booked out. And we'll start saying, oh, can I use it for this half of class and the other half of class? Can we share them? Because they're all waiting to use those laptops from day dot. We weren't able to deliver for about 2 weeks. It was a very interesting period. So it was important to teachers that they have them there too.
Yeah. Question on that.
Does your model cater for the kid who wants to bring the $3,000 MacBook?
No, it doesn't, and we don't have that device supported at school. What we provide, our decision at the moment, it was it was bring your own school device. So we say this is the device you'll use at school, because this is the learning environment you'll have, and essentially it's EduStar software sort of bundled, repackaged as we call it Low-Star. It's just got the essentials that we need, and we put things on there as teachers require them. We don't, I suppose it's like tied in with that sort of social democratic approach, that we don't want kids having different devices. We want everyone to have the same experience. To be honest, that's probably more about teachers. It's more about teachers saying, when I go to this classroom, I know what I'm going to get and I know how to fix these problems. So if they come in and say, I want to do video editing today, we can say it'll be this software and this is where you find the button to fix that little bug or tweak that you need to make. So we don't have those devices here at school. We don't allow them on our wireless network. At this stage, we don't allow secondary devices like phones or iPads, etc. on our network at all. Our network is there to school network for school devices. Now, look, we're always having conversations about where that's going next, particularly with these people. There may be opportunities there. I can see some real benefits for students long term, but that's not where we wanted to start. We wanted to have an experience that was going to be the same for everybody. So when we're having messages to staff and students, it's the same message each time at this stage.
Yes, no.
How did you or do you deal with students that don't take care of their product, don't charge the product, aren't ready to use it? While you have a one-to-one rollout, there is that percentage of students that don't do it.
How do you deal with students that don't come to class with pen and paper or the textbook?
Teacher.
It's the same. No policy around student management has changed.
So if you have an ongoing issue with a student, what would you do?
It's the same policies for any requirements about books, pens, paper, change for PE and sport. Nothing changes. I think, but it's a good question, Miller, because in some sense, a lot of staff ask these questions, and we said, well, what do we already do? As we started to move content into the online space, and even in terms of our student management, we now log all our incident reporting and student management all online. It's an instantaneous communication system, it's fantastic, but in terms of follow-up and things, it's the same argument. What was the existing policy? But what has happened, as we've got more and more stuff put on with IT tools, we've found there's much more transparency about data. We have real counts of incidents, we have real counts of academic achievement, etc., which we can respond to, and that's been fantastic. But that transparency has raised a lot of those questions about, okay, well, do we need to look at our policies? Were they appropriate then? Are they still appropriate now? But as far as teaching goes, it's just like bringing your pencil case to class. It's no different. They remember to charge their phones. They never forget that.
Just going back to what you said before, we bought the one machine and we thought it was awful help for staff to get the same experience for everyone. And so we made all these video files that they can access whilst they were had those devices in their room. So if there were we tried to sort of think of all the kinds of videos we could make for staff to quick fix things rather than have to call on support, so they could do the experience there and then. So yeah, we were adamant that we didn't want to have a whole bunch of different devices on our network, exactly the same as you. one experience, one shot for problem solving, blah, 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 so that we can get the same experience for everyone. And we're still trying to maintain that, although it is harder and harder because the device that you started with is probably not there next time you want to go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to...
Yeah. And I think we're talking about, with Naomi, about those IT skills. Multiple devices don't matter so much if your kids have the skills to actually manage them, manage their own device. But while we know they're still developing that, it wasn't the right choice for us. I'll just run it back to it for a while.
How do you manage, you talk about kids not bringing netbooks and stuff, their computers to class, and you treat it as if they're not bringing netbooks and netbooks to class. How do you follow up repeat damage? Like, obviously in a one-on-one environment, you can't take away the netbook from the student because that way they can't function properly in the classroom. How do you follow that up?
That is exactly it. And I can tell you about my teaching experience. They don't participate. I mean, that's just, as a teacher, that's what I do. Where's your gear? Sorry, no play. I'm a music teacher, this is my classroom. So you don't bring your instrument, you don't play. You don't bring your laptop, you don't do it, you get left behind. My experience has been they don't like that. So generally, happens to like, you generally see the device come very quickly. There were some people that opted out of the program full stop right at the start. So we're not going to pretend that everybody turned up day one and clicked the device. They didn't. We had probably about 14, I think it was 14 students that didn't pick up the device on the day of rollout. Some of those we worked out there was welfare issues associated and we were able to remedy them very, very quickly. Some of them just completely opted out. And it was, oh, I got a laptop for Christmas, even though we're putting that message out there, please don't buy the laptop. We're trying to get into the primary schools, please don't buy the laptop, you're going to be getting one at school, it'll be cheaper. But they did, and so they said, oh, I'm not buying a second one, and they didn't bring it. Very quickly, we've had students actually come and say to us, oh, look, everybody else in my class has one, it's good, I'm just going to get one, and they ended up getting it anyway. That's how we got up to that 100%. Everyone opted back in.
Yeah, I think we're having a few different issues because when you take the network away a lot of the time, kids just don't care, or they just refuse to work in class, so you're not really helping you in the classroom,
yeah.
You're pushing kids to the side.
And I guess that goes back to the core of, is my role as teaching and learning manager. Why was it they wanted to opt out? What was happening in the classroom in terms of the curriculum delivery that kids are saying, I just don't want to be a part of that. And if you can fix that issue, or, you know, look, and there are some you'll never fix. But I think that's where the problem is. You want kids to participate in a learning task. We know they can do that more efficiently with the device. It's not about the device first.
Well, the things we're finding is the buy-in's big at year 7. Really big, like 100%. We don't have any problems about parents paying. The issues we find are on the upper end of the school because most of the subjects, particularly BC, are textbook driven, so teachers struggle with that netbook situation. What we're trying to do is upgrade the computer system that we actually, or the device that we provide them so they can see value in it. And I know we were going to roll in. We thought that was the best way to get payment because we have co-payment and they pay yearly. We had a situation probably about the third weekend at the start of this year where we had 150 netbooks that had rolled out. So we had a really huge campaign. It was a saturation point. We contacted parents. I had my VS staff ring home. What's going on? We brought that down to about 25 netbooks. And the 25 netbooks were in the senior end of the school where kids just said, look, my mum and dad see no value in it. But we're educating them. It's about an education process. And the systems you have in school, and we've found this, we roll out a redemption program. And I don't want to go into much detail, but kids suffer a consequence for not handing in work. Well, if they don't have a device and they don't do their work at school and they don't complete key learning activities where they've got to submit them by a due date, and an SMS goes home and says, your child has not done this piece of work, you are required to do a redemption activity. The saturation point starts to reach because the kids realise, I can't do my work without my netbook. So it's an accountability exercise. So it's something that takes time. It's not going to win. You're not going to win in the first year. We figure it's about a 5-year process, but we'll get to the point where it'll be their bread and butter, and teachers will see it's part of their bread and butter too. So.
And it has been a 5-year process for us. 2009, first co-contribution 2013. So it's a 5-year process. In terms of our buy-in, because I didn't quite get there, I'll just tell you some of the things our students do online.
5 minutes left.
Yeah. Our students submit work online. Our daily organisation, their timetables, etc., are all online. Their parents have access to this as well. So parents, teachers, students, all in the same space. And we created this before we did we sought these services and developed these programs before we handed out the devices. So assignment submission, reports online, timetables online, online payment of school fees at some year levels that's beginning to develop. We have student management is all online. We've adopted a social media. We've got now a media officer, basically dedicated to that publication and that role.
And especially online payments has been one of our biggest changes this year. Parents paying for excursions online, laptops online, fees online, and that's been a massive thing. And we've found the majority of their payments have been after 5 p.m, and that's actually worked quite well for us, and it's been fantastic.
And it's created, as we've got more of that, that's the community engagement. Somebody asked me, what do you mean by community engagement? That's what I mean by community engagement. It's that communication. Now we can tell you straight away, now that we've got this data in this space, we can tell you which parents have read newsletters, which haven't, which have checked their kids' reports, which haven't. Who's going to be absent today straight away. We know all that information, it's all there. We can see what other teachers have written about students in terms of their achievements and student management. Because we're getting all that data in, it's giving us a much clearer picture, and I think that's where the real strengths are. It's now responding to that data, but having the device at home is what's allowed parents to actually participate in that space, because we can see who it is. And interestingly enough, interestingly enough, we thought when we rolled the program that we were going to have trouble with the people, the have-nots, and particularly people with economically socially disadvantaged. It's not that group that's opted out. We have the payments from those people, or we have the welfare mechanisms in place to actually support those people. It's the group in the middle, and this is supported around some research that's been done recently about the digital divide. You're often missing that working class in the middle that says, I don't do IT, I don't do computers, they muck up when I use them. It's almost, I use the word arrogance, but it's almost, my life doesn't need it, I can do without it because at the end of the day it's not part of my job, or it's not part of my lifestyle, or it's not of interest to me. That's the group of people that we're missing. And they're the people we've got to engage with and say, here's all the benefits for your children about having the device. Because one of the things is, I guess, with education is everyone's had an experience of it, and the experience of students today is not the experience of their parents, and so the education around that, I think, is really important to get that middle group.
Absolutely. I'm just going to quickly touch on for the last 2 minutes for us IT guys, because he's taken up too much of my time talking about education. Okay, for us IT guys minded, to make these programs work, it has to be, the infrastructure has to be there, okay? IT speak, a number of elements have to come together thanks to the federal funding. We've made that happen, and a number of other schools that I've dealt with have done the same thing. Pretty much, you've got to have your IT support, servicing, service delivery, customer service has to be there for us IT guys. A lot of us don't have that as a good strength, but I'm sure we're actually building on it. Having a full managed school network, okay? Thanks to Colin, one of our TSSPs here, he basically revolutionised our school back in 2010, making a fully managed Cisco network, and then from then we've increased that into 2012 to make it bigger, faster, better, stronger. I'm doing it really quickly. Wireless infrastructure has to be there. We're using EduStar Wireless, absolutely fantastic. I don't care what anyone else says, we love it. It works for our school, it's absolutely fantastic. We have no issues with dropouts or saturation points or people can't get on or slows or nothing like that, absolutely fantastic. School internet, I'm going to skip that one, it's an interesting question. Case endpoint systems, the Dell case guys here, we adopted the case management system when we purchased the round 5 funding. That's our endpoint systems management. We can see whatever PC is online, we can service deliver any software to that PC, remote connect to it, that's where they log their jobs, we can run repair reports, everything goes into this system, fully managed, staff and student. They jump on, log their job, come in, all emailed out, so they actually service it for us. We're lucky enough in our office, we've got a big flat screen there, we can see the jobs coming in, and we're working on that too. Next, thanks to the federal funding again, is this one, pretty hard to see, is the server infrastructure. We have virtual servers and we also got physical servers. These days, the amount of storage we need is getting less and less, obviously, because the one-to-one program, they store a lot of the work on their hard drives and the USBs and their mobile phones. We've gone to pretty much a virtual environment. with a lot of Dell sands and stuff, and that's worked really well. I know a number of other schools here have done the same thing, gone to a sand environment.
And that's been a cost saving. You asked about some of the money. That's been a cost saving. Plus, we're printing less. We're not photocopying less. That doesn't change. It's about 3 million sheets a year.
Yep.
We're saving about $5,000 a year in publication of reports on a paper model.
Absolutely. So trying to find cost savings for this program as well. Compass School Manager, the guys got their presentation coming up. If you don't know what Compass is, you've got to go to it. It's fantastic. That's changed, even helped us out as IT guys to doing our job. It's absolutely fantastic. But also Dell Financial Services. We wouldn't be doing this program this year if it wasn't for the Dell Finance guys. Okay, they know what it's all about. They used us as a bit of a guinea pig as well, and it's working really well. We've spoken at a few webinars and stuff for them, and it's actually worked as well. So that's my sort of time in about 3 minutes. But if anyone has any, we're going to wrap this up because the Dell guys got their presentation now. Any questions, you can come and talk to myself and Cam at morning tea and lunch.
Yep.
But
Organise a time for a visit.
or organise or give us a call, organise a time any time in the next few weeks, come and say good day. What I'll do is I'll pass on to the Dell guys now and give us about 2 minutes while we change over.